Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and we are going to do today a tier list, finally, for Game Week 21. Feels like a while since we've done a tier list video, but looking to get stuck in. And guys, we could even do a sell tier list. If you guys want to see a sell tier list, leave a like, let me know in the comments, and perhaps we'll do that if we've got time tomorrow. But today, it's all about the buys. So, as always, we have got a tier list right in front of us, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the 30 most popular transfers in at time of recording, and we're going to be ranking them based on how good they are as transfers to bring in for Game Week 21. So this is about transfers, not just about how good the player is in general, it's about whether you should transfer them in or not. And remember, it's all just in my opinion, and yeah, might be some controversy in this one, because I'm going to try and not sit on the fence. We're going to try and be quite decisive today, and we are going to start off that decisiveness by putting in the 30th most popular transfer of the game week so far, and that is Darwin Nunez. So a lot of people looking to bring in Darwin Nunez for this game week, which surprises me a little bit. Now, I want to go on record and say, if you already have Darwin, I don't necessarily think he's a must sell, but would I be buying him in for Game Week 21? I don't think I would. So therefore, he has to go in the avoid category for me. We're going to move on straight away to Gordon. And yeah, I'm not sure about Gordon. I think he's going to be not optional, because we have got Newcastle against Man City next, which maybe even puts him into the avoid category. Is this the right time to buy Gordon? Well, I guess if we're not going to sit on the fence, I'm going to say another avoid. I would not be looking to bring in Gordon right now. Just Newcastle's form has just not been great recently. The next two fixtures are tough. This fixture is against Man City. Maybe if you are looking for a midfielder, maybe we actually should be looking elsewhere right now. And maybe Gordon is a little bit of a thing of the past. Again, is Gordon a must sell? I don't think so necessarily, but maybe we'll cover that in tomorrow's sell tier list if you guys want to see that. Next up, Garnacho. I think he's an optional player. Yeah, obviously he's 4.8 million. You can't expect him to get regular, huge attacking scores every game week. You don't get that for this kind of price, unless your name's Cole Palmer. But still, Garnacho is going to be a pretty reliable 4.8 million 8th attacker type option for you guys, and may actually help you to make certain transfer moves in the future when you are looking to free up some money. Garnacho at the cheap price tag might help you get players like Salah and Son back into your team in a few game weeks time. So don't mind Garnacho. He's fine. He's an option. Don't think he's anything more than that. There is more magical and special FPL assets that we're going to talk about today. But Garnacho is fine. He's decent pick for his price. Nice. Does the job. Next up, Vladimir Sofal. I really am not 100% sure where to put him. I think he's somewhere between optional and avoid. If I'm being harsh, and I'm going to be decisive today, and I'm not going to do any fence sitting, I think I'll probably put Sofal in avoid. And the reason I'm doing that is because he's 4.7 million. That is no longer a super cheap defender. West Ham, yes, they've kept a few clean sheets recently, but their defensive numbers are still pretty poor. And it does look like, at times, maybe they've been a little bit fortunate to get the clean sheets. Now, this game week, we have got a game against Sheffield United for West Ham. But after that, the fixtures aren't quite as simple, aren't quite as easy. And I do expect West Ham will go back to conceding goals. Again, the data suggests it's not going to be a too long streak of clean sheets for them. So I think Sofal could do absolutely fine in Game Week 21. But if you're buying him for the longer term, 4.7 million, I just think there's going to be better value for money out there when we're looking for defenders. Particularly, we want to be looking for those defenders with attacking potential. And there's a lot of them going around right now. Don't really think Sofal really is a defender with super high attacking potential or bonus points potential or even really clean sheet potential. So I think we could do better. He's okay, but I think we could do better, and therefore he is going to be an avoid. Maybe a controversial on that one. Next up, Kyle Walker. I don't mind Kyle Walker. I think he's got to go somewhere between optional and good transfer. He's definitely an option. I'm going to throw him in good transfer because I do think he is a solid player to pick. Obviously, we know Man City always have reasonably good defensive numbers. And what I like in particular about the Man City players in general is that we've got a pretty good chance of a double game week in Game Week 25 for Man City. So we're hopefully going to get a double game week finally for Man City and Brentford coming up very soon. Yeah, Game Week 25 is looking like a real possibility at the moment. So it might be quite nice if you're looking for a new defender to get a nailed-on Man City defender who can have that double game week there. Then actually that could be pretty interesting, could be pretty nice. I believe Man City play against Chelsea in Game Week 25, so that would be Chelsea and Brentford would be the two fixtures for Man City in that game week. So yeah, it's not too bad. I think there's potential one clean sheet in there. Possibly, I'm not sure, but yeah, certainly you can do a lot worse. You can do a lot worse when you're looking for defenders. So yeah, we like our Kyle Walkers. I think he's a decent pick, but I think we can do better, and that's what we're going to try and do. Next up, Pascal Gross. Like him as a pick. So recently, Gross has moved into a more attacking position. We've seen him in the past playing at right back or playing at defensive midfielder, but he is playing a little bit more advanced more recently, and this means he's getting a lot of chances to score. He's creating a hell of a lot at the moment as well. We covered him in quite a lot of detail in yesterday's differentials video, so if you want the full lowdown on Pascal Gross, do go check out the differentials video we uploaded yesterday for more details on him. But I think it's a good transfer and a nice differential to go for. Now, next up, a player who I think we can keep this fairly short and sweet. It's Elise, and he's going to go straight in the avoids category. So it looks like Elise, with his new hamstring injury, could be out for around 4 weeks. So out for the rest of January. Makes absolutely no sense to buy him. I know a lot of people have gone early on Elise. It's unfortunate, but kind of if you're making early transfers, that's kind of the risk you take. So although if Elise was fit and available, would love him as a differential. But if you've brought in Elise, hopefully you've done it on a wild card maybe, and you can remove him again, because it does look like he is going to be out for the next couple of game weeks at least, unfortunately for him. He just can't catch a break with these injuries. But yeah, definitely an avoid for this game week. Would not be touching Elise due to that injury. Now, next up, Saliba. Now, I think I'm going to put him, optional at best. The problem is, Arsenal are not keeping clean sheets at the moment. I was looking through their last Premier League games, and in the last 10 Premier League games, only 2 clean sheets. That's not really good enough, and that means that Saliba has actually only returned in 2 of their last 10 Premier League games. Now, of course, Arsenal still are tracking with some of the best defensive numbers in the Premier League, but if they can't back that up with actual clean sheets, kind of what is the point? So I do think there still should be a little bit of confidence in the Arsenal defence, but it is slowly going downhill. It certainly is. So Saliba, he's okay. He's an okay player to have, but is he the best defender to go for right now? I'm not sure about that. He has got a better chance of a clean sheet, and he's got a better chance of, getting bonus points than the likes of Sofal. He is a little bit more expensive though, so I don't think there's a huge difference between these two players. Would I buy Saliba right now? Probably not, but I understand where a place might be in your FPL teams for him. Next up, Cunha. It's a really interesting one. Obviously, he did really well in game week 20, but before that, he just was not putting up the numbers. He wasn't really being much of a danger. Wasn't really much of a danger man, to be fair. Prior to game week 20, for the past previous maybe 3 game weeks, just wasn't doing anything, wasn't really doing much, not creating much, not taking enough shots. So yes, he did have that good game in game week 20, but is that going to be a one-off game, or is he going to go on and continue the form that perhaps he showed slightly earlier on in the season? I think if the fixtures were better, I would be more inclined to take a punt on Cunha, but because the fixtures are pretty mediocre for Wolves for the next 4 game weeks, it's an option, but it's not a player that fills me with confidence. Next up, Martin Ødegaard. Yeah, probably somewhere between optional and avoid. Again, there's just better defenders, better midfielders, value for money out there. At least Arsenal do have some semi-decent fixtures. We've got Crystal Palace up next. I can see Ødegaard potentially getting attacking returns in that game, and maybe some of the games after that as well. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because he is quite expensive at 8.4 million. He's not really a player on penalties. He's going to be on some of those set pieces. There are avenues of getting FPL points for Ødegaard, but his numbers have been okay. I think he's an okay pick. I don't feel thrilled or excited too much about Ødegaard as an FPL pick, so he can go in optional. Next up, Virgil van Dijk. At 6.3 million, that is quite expensive. We are getting to the expensive defender category. Would I go for Van Dijk over Trent Alexander-Arnold? No, I would spend the extra money and go for Trent. I do think there is a significant difference that does justify the price tag. But Liverpool, really, genuinely an improving defence, and I think there is some argument to say maybe you can go for Van Dijk. He will pop up with an occasional goal from a corner or something like that. So therefore, given that he is so much more expensive than Walker, I think we put him in a similar kind of area. I think Liverpool's defence looks actually decent at the moment. I think they will keep clean sheets. I think Van Dijk will get the occasional headed goal. And one more thing about Liverpool is, after beating Arsenal in the FA Cup, they've got a really good chance of getting a double game week in game week 25 again. So we could see Liverpool play against Brentford first, and then in the double game week fixture, it would be Luton Town. So that actually could be a really, really nice double game week for Liverpool. And Van Dijk, very nailed on player. It might be quite nice to own, so it could be actually decent. But like I say, I do prefer Trent, but there is a place for Van Dijk. I don't think he's a terrible transfer. I think he's a fairly solid transfer still. Next up, Alisson. Similar argument as the Van Dijk one. But to be honest, like 5.7 million for a goalkeeper is too much. It really, really is. He's going to score similar amount of points to many other goalkeepers who are much cheaper. So I get it. It's difficult to pick players right now, but I think I would reserve your 3 Liverpool slots for the outfield players. And I think Alisson perhaps goes down as an optional. I get why people are going for him. There's so few options for goalkeepers right now, but I don't think I want to spend the money. I don't think I want to use up the Liverpool slot. So Alisson can go in optional, but nothing more than that. Douglas Luiz, not a great run of fixtures. Everton away up next, which is not ideal. Douglas Luiz, really just a penalty and set-piece merchant. He's okay. He's going to occasionally get you some FPL points. He's optional at best. But really, again, there are more exciting picks right now, so he is going to go in the avoid category. Doughty, going to be a bit more generous to him. I'm going to put him in the optional category because I do appreciate that he does have that attacking potential. He's been a very creative player at the moment, and Luton are showing a little bit of form. Luton's defense, though, is still really bad, you know, completely washed. So don't expect clean sheets from Luton, but at 4.4 million, you're going to get the occasional assist. We're talking about a potential double game week in game week 25 for Luton. Granted, it would be against Liverpool, which is not great, but still, it's a double game week nonetheless. So Doughty, he's like an option. I think we could do better. Next up, João Pedro. I'm going to put him in optional as well. He's a risky player. He has been getting game time recently, to be fair, and Brighton do have some nice fixtures coming up. I just see him as a very risky pick at the moment because you never know when he's going to drop out the team and be rotated again. We've seen it time and time again with that really, really crazy and painful Brighton rotation. At least Pascal Gross is like a super, super nailed-on player. João Pedro is just not that, unfortunately. But João Pedro, when on the pitch, will have penalties, which is an advantage. One of the reasons why he could be an option. But another point, Gross, when João Pedro is off the pitch, Gross is on penalties. So how about that? Right, Dom Solanke up next. And it's a difficult fixture playing against Liverpool next. But in general, I think Solanke's a good player to own. He's a good player to own. I think if you're looking for a forward for this game week and beyond, I'll be fine with buying him this week, even against Liverpool. I think he's a really, really solid FPL asset. The numbers are there. He's on penalties. The fixtures, even after the Liverpool game, are pretty decent. And I don't think Liverpool are completely immune from conceding goals or anything like that. So, yeah, definitely Solanke is a top FPL pick. Even now. Now, the only reason I'm not putting him any higher than a good transfer, we're going to put him in around here, is because that Liverpool fixture in the immediate term. And I think if you don't own Solanke already, you possibly can afford to wait one more game week, but still, a player I'd quite like to own, so he goes in there. Next up, Areola. I think he's probably the best goalkeeper to go for at the moment, to be honest, so we're going to throw him in the good transfer category. If you really do need to buy a new goalkeeper for your FPL team, it's the kind of 4.2 million, really, really cheap. You're going to get save points. You are going to get a clean sheet now and again. Probably the best you could hope for when it comes to those goalkeepers at the moment, to be fair. So next up, Diogo Jota. Now, I really do like this transfer. So I'm going to put him in the good transfer category. Now, I know he didn't start against Arsenal today. There's two ways of looking at that. Either you think, okay, he's not first choice, or you think, oh, nicely rested, ready for game week 21. So two ways of looking at it. What I should say is that when Diogo came on early in the second half against Arsenal, he did look very, very good. Always in the right kinds of positions, always making the right decisions when the ball did fall to his feet. He looked very, very promising. And I do think, particularly considering the first half performance for Liverpool, where they basically didn't really have many chances at all. When Diogo Jota came on, you could see that there was a difference to that Liverpool team. So I do think he's going to be an important player for Liverpool. He's definitely a player with very high potential, but if you are looking to go a bit safer, maybe you could go for Luis instead, Luis Diaz. Maybe you could go for him instead, but Diogo Jota is just a very, very exciting FPL pick, and I do really like the look of him. So he's going to go in good transfer, but not 100% nailed on, so that's why I can't put him any higher than that, unfortunately. But again, double game week on the horizon for Liverpool, potentially. We'll hopefully find out about that within the next week or so. if you've got Jota ready to go for that double game week, could be big, particularly while Salah is out. The chance of Diogo Jota playing have significantly increased. Right, next up, Julian Alvarez. And I'm going to put him in the optional category, but arguably I could put him in avoid, genuinely. I really could put him on avoid. So we're going to put him very low tier optional. And I might move him in a bit because, again, I don't want to sit on the fence here. But Alvarez, I think he is good for this game week. I think he will play against Newcastle. After that, I am worried because De Bruyne is back, first of all. We've seen him get his sub appearance in the FA Cup today. So he is going to be, De Bruyne is going to be the first choice player in that midfield when he gets up to speed and starts getting regular game time, which will happen, if not this game week, the following game week. De Bruyne will be playing regularly very, very soon. We've also got the likes of Foden, who's been doing very well in that central midfield position as well. As soon as Erling Haaland is back, what happens to Alvarez? Well, there's just too many players to pick from at the moment. You know, Foden, could he play on the wing? Is it Grealish or Doku on the wing? Behind the striker, it's going to be most likely De Bruyne there or Foden there. Where does Alvarez fit in? And we're going to come to a point where it is super rotation risk for a lot of our Man City attackers very, very soon. So despite the fact that, again, Man City could be having a double game week, it's very likely that Alvarez will not see the full benefit of that double game week. So if you already have him, okay, fine, you probably keep him for this game week. Would I be looking to buy him this game week? No, I probably wouldn't, to be fair. So, yeah, at best, he's low tier optional. If I'm totally honest with myself, though, I wouldn't be buying him. And I say that as someone who bought him last game week. I kind of regret that decision now. Moving on. Ollie Watkins, good transfer. He's just a solid player to own. He's fine. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Ollie Watkins in your team. I'm going to put him high tier, good transfer. He's good. Like 8.9 million, a little bit expensive, but he's pretty consistent. Aston Villa, obviously a top quality attack. Good transfer. Next up, Pedro Porro. I still think he's a really nice transfer. I really like him. I'm going to put him in great transfer. Still think he's really a player to own. Obviously, getting attacking returns in the FA Cup. Gets attacking returns a lot, to be fair. He's just so attacking. On set pieces, playing super far forward. Basically an attacker. Listed as a defender in a super attacking team. Are you going to get clean sheets? I guess sometimes, but probably very rarely with Spurs. But attacking returns is what it's all about these days with our defenders, isn't it? So, great transfer. Like him. Next up, Erling Haaland, and I think I'm going to put him in the avoid category. Yep, I think I'm going to slap him all the way down here in the avoid category. I don't think he's going to start. Based on current information, given that he wasn't even in the FA Cup squad, and given that Man City play this Saturday coming, that's only 6 days away, and he couldn't even make the squad today, is he going to be starting in Game Week 21? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. Based on current information, I would not be looking to buy Erling Haaland quite yet. I would wait one more game week. I really, really would. So just be aware of that, guys. The chances of him playing, of him starting, they're not super high. They're not super high at this exact moment. But hey, maybe we'll get more information as we get closer towards the deadline. But if he can't make the squad today, is he going to be starting in 6 days' time? I just can't see it. Just can't see it. Why risk him, you know? Maybe he makes the bench. I think that's the best case scenario because Pep Guardiola doesn't like to rush back his players, no matter who they are. Slowly bringing players back in. Not too much risk taking, anything like that. So yeah, avoid for now. I know, crazy. I said it. Next up, Richarlison. Now, previously I might have put him a little bit higher than this, but I am going to drop him into the good transfer category, and I'm going to put him alongside these Diogo Jota and Gross, but I'm actually going to put him slightly behind that. And the reason is the rumours about Timo Werner being very close to signing for Spurs. Now, is that going to affect Richarlison in the short term? Probably not, because Son is going to be away at the Asian Cup for a few game weeks, and Richarlison should play throughout then, Werner playing on the left. But very soon, we're going to have a situation where Son is back from the Asian Cup. Timo Werner is signed. Maddison is back from injury, which maybe moves Kulusevski back onto the wing. It is going to be a real competition for a place in that Spurs attack. Now, you would imagine it would be Son nailed on, Maddison nailed on. Kulusevski probably plays 80-90% of games as well, which means there's one more slot on the wing or as a central striker, and that's going to be between Werner when he signs, Richarlison, Brennan Johnson. Now, a lot of people, and I've already spoken about this on Twitter today, and a lot of people replied saying, Dan, don't be so stupid. Obviously, this player is going to be nailed on in the Spurs attack. And the problem was, some people would say Richarlison, some people would say Brennan Johnson, some people would say Timo Werner. There were so many different answers, and everyone was so confident that their answer was correct, which kind of proved the point that it is going to be a rotation chaos, and nobody knows. And there will be comments in this comment section saying, Dan, I know for 100% Richarlison's going to play every single game. Don't worry about that. He's not going to get rotated at all. But there'll be another person saying, well, if Brennan Johnson's fit, he's going to play every game. If, Saar is fit, he's playing so well, he's going to play every game. There's going to be so many different answers in the comment section. So it kind of proves the point. Nobody's nailed on, other than Son, Maddison, and to a degree, Kulusevski. So I do think Richarlison is great for the short term, but he's no longer that real nice long-term option that we perhaps thought he could be. That's just kind of the situation we find ourselves in, and that's probably with or without Timo Werner either. Now, we're getting on for time, guys, so I'm going to whiz through the next few players. We're going to start off with Purvis Estupiñán, a player we spoke about in yesterday's video again, so I am going to put him in good transfer. Really do like the look of him as a pick. Maybe even put him alongside the likes of Pedro Porro, but probably not quite. Going to throw him in there. Yeah, if you want more details on him, check out the video from yesterday, but I like him as a differential shout. De Bruyne, not quite sure I'd be willing to take a punt on him quite yet. If you want to go risky, you want to go for him straight away, then go for him, but I suspect he may be eased in a little bit. Can't see him playing a huge amount of minutes in the near future, of course. But, yeah, he's definitely going to be a good pick soon. And I think people will be tempted to just, if you're selling a Son or selling a Salah, just to go straight for the next most expensive midfielder. Really don't think you have to do that if you don't want to. There's definitely really good, cheap options in midfield at the moment. But De Bruyne, he's okay. If you want to take that risk, go for it. Don't think he is a player that I would be desperate to go for. Another player who I think is optional is sadly Saka. I don't think he's any more than optional at this point. He's just very expensive. Arsenal not doing too well in attack. You could maybe push him up to good transfer if you wanted to, but I don't know. I just feel value for money with Saka. If you don't already have him, I don't think I would be buying him necessarily. He's an option, but definitely not a player you need to get. Now, next up, I'm going to put Trent Alexander-Arnold in. And that is going to be my first must-buy of today's video. I'm really, now that we think that Liverpool are going to get a double game week in 25, it's not confirmed yet, but if that is going to happen, I just can't see myself going without Trent. Liverpool are a defence that's improving. Trent is doing really well. He's taking so many shots on at the moment. He's creating so much. He's on those set pieces, and you're telling me he might get a double game week as well. Everything's kind of going his way at the moment. So I do think he is as close to a must-buy as you can get in FPL. Next up, Phil Foden. Again, rotation is the problem. I think he's kind of similar to some of these other midfielders. They all have their advantages. They all have their disadvantages. I'm going to put Foden around Diogo Jota. Maybe I put him just behind him. Foden's done really well recently, and a lot of people will say, well, Foden's done too well. Surely he cannot be dropped based on performances. Remember, guys, this is Man City. This is Pep Guardiola. We have been here before a million times. Foden has got on these amazing runs of form, but, when the likes of Haaland come back into the team, when Alvarez is going to get some game time, when Doku is back to play on the wing as well, Bernardo Silva's still doing very well on that right wing as well. Where is he going to play? Not everyone can play every game in the Man City team unless their name is Erling Haaland, if he's fit, and possibly De Bruyne there as well. So, Foden, I think he could cause some problems. So he's a good transfer, but I can't put him any higher than that because of that rotation risk. Next up, Jarrod Bowen. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Jarrod Bowen did pick up a minor knock today, and therefore, again, another player with a small disadvantage who previous to today, I would have probably put Bowen in a great transfer, but I can't do it anymore because he's picked up that little knock in the FA Cup. We're not sure how severe it is, but he had to be helped off the pitch. It took a real big blow. Now, the good thing about Bowen is that the West Ham game isn't actually for another 2 weeks. The game week 21 fixture for West Ham, it's still 2 weeks away. So we've got some recovery time there, and Bowen is typically very good at recovering. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It was an impact injury as well. So the problem is that we're not going to get more information about Bowen's injury because West Ham do play in 2 weeks. We're not going to get a press conference for West Ham. We do have a midweek fixture, an FA Cup replay for West Ham. So maybe we get some more ideas in the in and around the FA Cup replay for West Ham. But obviously that's going to be next week as well. I don't know. Maybe we'll get training pictures. It's going to be very, very difficult to get information pre-deadline for Bowen, basically, is what I'm saying. So he can't be a great pick anymore. It's a really difficult one. We want the information. We want the certainty. We can't have it. And finally, Cole Palmer. I'll say the same thing I say every week. Guys, there's no excuse to not own Cole Palmer at 5.6 million. There really isn't. Like, guys, come on, man. So cheap on penalties, in such good form as well for Chelsea. He's just so good value for money. I'm not saying he's going to always score the same as a Salah or a Haaland or anything like that, but you are not going to get better value for money in an FPL asset than Cole Palmer. And for that reason, it does make him, in my mind, essential. There's no one out there who can't afford to get Palmer into their team right now. So come up with an excuse. Tell me your excuse. Why are you not buying Cole Palmer? Because I can't see one. If you have one, let me know, because I'd love to hear it. But there you go, guys. That is going to be the tier list today. We've tried to be putting players as high up as we can. Unfortunately, with a lot of these midfielders, there's advantages and disadvantages to each of them, but hopefully we've got things roughly correct. Let me know what you think about my final tier list here. Guys, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. And yeah, like I say, let me know if you would like to see a sells tier list, or do you think you guys already know who you're going to sell this game week? Maybe. I don't know. Let me know in the comments and drop a like to let me know that. But aside from that, guys, do make sure you check out yesterday's video about differentials. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.